In this video, we're going to take a panoramic landscape photograph, turn it into a moving landscape, and put a couple of UFOs flying across it. So we'll have a look at the panoramic landscape. It looks like this. And here's our UFOs. And we'll start with this UFO and we'll put it down onto the track. And we're going to move it out a little bit to get the screen to fit, and we're going to crop a little bit off of each end, so about there. We can actually get rid of the soundtrack on there, and so we're going to take our panoramic landscape and put it onto the timeline and maybe stretch it out a little bit. Now what we want to do is we want to stretch it out so that it fits up the screen entirely, and then we'll move it to one end. So you just zoom it up until it fits the screen, and then you go to one end of it and you drag the position along so it starts at the beginning, right there. And then for position, you put a keyframe in there, and then you go to the end of the photograph and you change the position towards the other end of it, and it will automatically put in the keyframe at the other end. So there you go. There's your moving landscape. Now we want to throw a UFO in there so that it comes in at one point and then flies across. That's maybe a good point to start it. So the first thing you want to do is to crop it a little bit to get rid of that excess material on the sides and that little bit of shadow. So you highlight it and then you double click on cropping, and you can crop a little bit on the bottom, the left, the right, and the top. And then you need to color key it out. So we go into Fusion and we go to the Tools, Matte, Delta Keyer. You just click on it, it comes up, and then you drag this eyedropper on there, and there you get rid of the color. Then you go back to Edit, and you'll see there's your UFO. Now we want it to fly across also. You can see that it has a nice motion in there. So to begin with, we want it to be smaller. I'm going to put keyframes in here because that may change in the position and the rotation angle. So without moving that, I change the position of it. I want a little bit of rotation angle. Maybe move it up and then right off the screen. And then I go to the other end of it and I change this position so it goes right across. And maybe we want it to get a little bit smaller as we go. Right across, lower it down so it kind of shoots down to the bottom, and then out. And there you can see it flying across. Now, if at one point you wanted to change the direct trajectory to make a little bit of a curve to it, you could raise it up a little bit there so you see it'll, and then it'll dip down. So we want the flying saucer to come back, so we'll pop it back up there. And once again, we will crop this one just to get rid of all of the excess. Once more, we color key that out. Tools, matte, delta keyer, and then go back to edit. So we just want to make it a return trip. So in this case, we go to the other end of it. We're going to make this again smaller, although it may grow a little bit. Change the rotation angle, going the other way. Bring it off the other end. Make sure you put the keyframes in there, and then bring this to the other end, and then you do the reverse. And perhaps it can get a little bit smaller at one point. And you might change the rotation angle to go the other way. And it's gonna get a little bit bigger again. And perhaps go up. Now you can watch your flying saucer fly through there. And at the same time, it might be a good idea to have another flying saucer fly through there. This one isn't moving. This is just a photograph. So we take that photograph, go into Fusion again, matte, delta keyer. There we go. And you can decide whether you want this one to be much bigger going through or actually a lot smaller. So that should be in the background because it's not moving. We'll make that a lot smaller. Make sure you put your keyframes in. So you want that to go to much higher speed. Now, if you want it to come back, you put some keyframes back in there so it stays in the same position for a little bit. And then you can have it zoom back again. And we'll click rotation there, because what we want to happen is as it goes across, we want it to spin around a few times. There we go. So there you can see it's a little bit of a UFO invasion. Now the last thing, of course, you need to do is put some soundtrack on there. You drag that in, and with these little tabs here, you can put a bit of a transition. There you go.